The grand hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with light reflected off marble-like stone mined from 20 different worlds. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the chamber, their voices a chaotic hum of argument and self-importance. At the center of it all stood the human delegation. Small, understated, and entirely still. Ambassador Lyra Vance of Earth didn't fidget, didn't glare, didn't even speak. She simply waited as the motion to restrict human expansion beyond Tier 4 space passed by an overwhelming majority. The voting crystals pulsed, blue for yes, crimson for no. Almost every crystal in the hall glowed blue. It was official now. Humanity was barred from further colonization. "The matter is settled," announced Chancellor Dreth of the Vull, his translucent head frills fluttering in satisfaction. "The human species will remain within its current borders until further review." A faint rustle passed through the chamber. The human ambassador gave a shallow bow, her expression unreadable. She didn't protest. She didn't argue. She simply turned and walked out of the hall, her two aides following silently behind her. That silence unsettled them all. The humans had been the Council's most unpredictable species since their admission 2 centuries ago. They'd risen from a single backwater system to a respected interstellar power in less than 100 years. They'd fought beside the Council during the Viran Wars, rebuilt shattered worlds after the Scourge, and supplied engineers, scientists, and doctors to every corner of the galaxy. And now, without a word, they were leaving. "They'll be back," said Minister Qualen of the Irixi, letting out a dry hiss. "Humans always argue. It is their nature." But no one saw them again in the council halls. No ambassadors. No envoys. No shipments of humanitarian aid or offers of trade. The starports where human freighters once came buzzing with cargo now fell silent. The trade lanes grew dimmer. The human systems, once open to visitors, closed their gates. At first, the galaxy didn't notice. Life went on. Other species filled the gaps. The Council expanded its reach, boasting about unity and balance. But then small things began to go wrong. The mining colonies in the Drax belt began to fail. Their atmospheric systems, designed by humans, needed specialized components only human companies made. The replacement parts that came from alien manufacturers broke down within weeks. The medical nanites that had revolutionized alien healthcare suddenly became scarce. Only human biotechnicians knew the formulas and control protocols. Without them, production halted. Then the military fleets noticed something worse. The hyperlane stabilizers, built, tuned, and maintained by human engineers, started failing across council space. Starships vanished into hyperspace storms, never to return. 100 worlds began to whisper the same question. Where had the humans gone? When the council finally sent an emissary fleet to Earth, they found Sol System quiet and sealed. The gates were locked, guarded by automated defense satellites. A single message beacon repeated on every frequency, calm and unmistakable. "We are not your enemies. We are simply finished." Chancellor Dreth replayed that message 100 times. "Finished with what?" he muttered. "Trade, diplomacy, cooperation." But the humans did not answer. Inside the hidden depths of the Terran Confederacy's core worlds, humanity had turned inward. They were tired. Tired of being treated as a resource. Tired of being manipulated, mistrusted, or accused of overreaching. For centuries they had built, defended, and healed a galaxy that still looked down on them. They had fought wars that weren't theirs. They had lifted species from ruin. And when they asked for space to breathe, the Council called them aggressive. When they built colonies beyond the rim, The council called it expansionist behavior. So humanity walked away quietly. On the shipyards orbiting Luna, the last interstellar freighters were dismantled and retooled into massive colony arcs. On Mars, engineers mapped new jump routes into deep, uncharted space, regions even the Council feared to explore. The outer settlements were recalled, and their populations vanished beyond known borders. They didn't slam the door. They simply closed it. Weeks turned into months. The Galactic Council tried to fill the void. The Vul took over human trade routes. The Irixi attempted to reproduce human power cores. The Avacar tried to copy human agricultural systems. Every attempt failed spectacularly. Human technology had always worked differently. More adaptive, less elegant perhaps, but built with a kind of intuition the rest of the galaxy didn't understand. Their machines responded to their people because they'd been designed by minds that expected chaos and planned for failure. The galaxy had grown dependent on that resilience without realizing it. The first winter famine came on Laura Prime, a world once fed by human-engineered climate control systems. Without them, storms ravaged the equatorial farmlands. By the time the Council mobilized aid, 10 million had died. When the first wave of hyperdrive failures crippled half the fleet, the Council demanded that humans return. They sent pleas, emissaries, even apologies. But no reply came. The gates remained sealed. On a small research outpost orbiting the dying sun of Vendrax, a young scientist named Athera discovered something shocking. She had managed to decrypt fragments of an old human data cache, a teaching archive left behind when the Terrans withdrew. It was filled with manuals, design principles, and blueprints. But at the end of each file was a warning in perfect galactic standard. You were never our masters. We were never your tools. You had our friendship. You squandered it. By the time that message spread, it was too late. Entire star systems began collapsing under their own technological decay. The Council's fleets were grounded. Starports shut down. Communication arrays failed one after another. And somewhere beyond the edge of map space, the humans thrived. They had found a cluster of newborn stars, rich in resources and untouched by old rivalries. They built vast orbital cities, silent engines of light. They didn't broadcast. They didn't boast. They simply rebuilt everything, better, faster, stronger. They didn't plan revenge. They didn't need to. The galaxy was already learning its lesson. And so, for the first time in 10,000 years, the Council trembled. Not because of war, but because of absence. The humans hadn't left in anger. They had left in peace. And somehow that was far more terrifying. Because deep down, every species understood one thing. When humans got quiet, when they stopped talking, when they simply walked away, it wasn't because they'd been defeated. It was because they'd decided the rest of the galaxy wasn't worth saving anymore. And somewhere, on a distant world of oceans and light, Lyra Vance stood beneath twin suns, watching the horizon with calm eyes. "We gave them every chance," she whispered. "Now let them see what silence builds." Behind her, the first of the new colony arcs rose into the sky, its hull gleaming with a word that had defined humanity's true legacy: perseverance. And the stars welcomed them home. It was 2 years since the humans had sealed their borders, and the Galactic Council was breaking apart. The great unity that had once spanned half the galaxy was crumbling, undone not by war, but by the slow erosion of everything humanity had built for them. Worlds that had never known hunger now starved. Fleets that had once moved effortlessly through hyperspace now limped between systems on dying engines. Even the Council's great capital, Sereth Prime, was beginning to falter, its orbital shield grid flickering unpredictably. Chancellor Dreth sat in the darkened council chamber, the lights dimmed to conserve power. Around him, the representatives of the remaining species bickered in hushed tones. "This is unsustainable," hissed Minister Qualen. "Without human engineers, our infrastructure is collapsing. We must find them." "And if they refuse to return?" demanded the Avatar delegate, her crystalline body dimming with frustration. "Then we will die," Dreth said softly. "Because we taught them that they were expendable." No one spoke after that. Even those who had voted to exile the humans now avoided meeting one another's eyes. Regret was a heavy silence in the room. Finally Dreth stood. "I will go myself," he said. "If the humans will not answer our calls, perhaps they will answer humility." The council gave no objection. Perhaps they were too weary to stop him. Perhaps secretly they hoped he would succeed. The Vul diplomatic cruiser Serenity's flame departed within the week. Its hyperdrive, patched together with salvaged human components, barely survived the journey through the fading lanes. For a month, Dreth and his small crew searched the void beyond mapped space. And then, in the dark silence between galaxies, they found it. The human arc worlds glimmered like constellations. Thousands of cities orbiting new suns, forming an empire of light where none had been before. Ships moved between them in orderly patterns. Drones sculpted planets into gardens and oceans. It was beautiful. Dreth felt very small as his ship approached the perimeter. Before he could transmit, a voice filled his comms. "This is the Terran Confederacy border network. Identify yourself and state your purpose." Dreth exhaled. "I am Chancellor Dreth of the Vul, former head of the Galactic Council. I seek an audience." A long silence followed. Then the voice returned. "Wait." Minutes passed like hours. Then a single escort vessel appeared. Sleek, silver, and unmistakably human. It was small, but its presence carried the weight of authority. "Follow us," said the voice. The cruiser was guided to an orbital station that seemed to hum with quiet energy. When Dreth disembarked, a single human was waiting for him. Ambassador Lyra Vance looked unchanged, calm, composed, her sharp eyes betraying neither hostility nor warmth. "Chancellor," she said, "I didn't expect to see you here." "I had to come," Dreth said, lowering his head. "Our galaxy is dying without you. We were arrogant. We believed we could command what we did not understand." Lyra studied him for a long moment. "You believed you could build a civilization without cooperation. Only control. That is not arrogance, Chancellor. That is fear." He nodded slowly. "Then teach us again. Please. We will pay whatever price you ask. We will open our worlds to your people. Just help us." Lyra turned to the great window that looked out upon the human worlds beyond. "When the Council decided to cage us, we tried to reason. We offered compromise. You ignored us. You believed you were protecting the galaxy from us. But the truth is, we were protecting it from itself." She turned back to him, her expression unreadable. "Do you know what we discovered, Chancellor, after we left?" Dreth shook his head. "That the galaxy doesn't need us to survive," she said quietly. "It needs to remember why it exists. It needs to understand the value of those who build, not just those who rule." He frowned. "Then you will not return." Lyra smiled faintly. "We never truly left. We've been watching quietly, helping where we could from the shadows. The famine on Laura Prime. It ended because we intervened without credit, without thanks. The plague on Kareth 4. We cured it anonymously. We are not cruel, Chancellor. But we are done being unappreciated." Dreth bowed deeply, his frills dimming in shame. "Then tell me, what must we do to earn your forgiveness?" Lyra considered that for a long time before answering. Stop asking for forgiveness. Start learning. Build something of your own that lasts. Understand what we tried to teach you. That strength is not domination, and progress is not ownership. She stepped closer. If you truly wish to make amends, dissolve the council. End the cycle of control. Let each world stand free. Only then will we speak as equals again. Dretha's eyes widened. End the council. That would mean chaos. It would mean freedom, she replied. You once called us dangerous because we refused to kneel. Now you must learn to stand without leaning on us. For a long time the old chancellor said nothing. Then quietly he nodded. Perhaps you are right. We called you reckless, but it was we who were afraid of change. Lyra's expression softened slightly. When you are ready, Chancellor, send a message to the void. We will hear it. She extended her hand, a human gesture of peace. Hesitantly, Dreth took it. Felt warm, real, honest. Months later, the council was no more. Worlds once bound by politics now govern themselves. Trade routes reopened through cooperation, not coercion. Technology began to recover. Slowly, painfully, but with purpose. And among the scattered stars, the humans continued to build. Their new colonies stretched into uncharted space, silent but bright. They no longer sought approval or dominance. They simply were. One night, as Dreth gazed at the stars from his homeworld, a single transmission arrived. It bore no encryption, no demand. Just a simple message. You learned. That is enough. He smiled, and for the first time in many years he felt hope. Far beyond the old council's reach, Lyra Vance stood on a balcony overlooking a world reborn. Children laughed beneath alien skies. Cities shimmered in the dawn. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had outgrown it. She whispered into the wind, not to anyone in particular. We walked away because we believed silence could teach more than words. And it did. Above her, a fleet of new human ships took flight. Not to fight, not to rule, but to explore. Because that was what humanity had always done best. And this time they did it on their own terms. The end.